Guys, if you're like me, you probably spend a lot of time browsing around the internet for cars. Whether you're looking to buy a new car, whether you're trying to find out what your own car might be worth if you want to sell it, or whether you're just wasting time trying to find your fantasy ride. But there are so many different places to look for a car. How are you going to know which one to look at first, last, or at all? That's where Autotempest.com comes in. It's a search engine for cars, and what it does is it searches all the most popular car platforms at once, like Craigslist, eBay Motors, Auto Trader, and Cars.com. And by searching all those car sites at once and giving you one concise list of results, you know you're spreading that umbrella as far as it will go. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just browse in Fantasyland, check out Autotempest.com now and find your dream ride. Hey guys, I'm not the really the hold the camera up and film myself like this kind of guy, but we have run into a bit of a snag with my Safari 911. As it turns out, about 3 days after I got the engine back, or the car back I should say, from Lee Keen, I started driving it, it started smoking like a bee. And it was a problem that we've never seen before. I mean, they've seen in other 911s, but not in my car. So, as you can see behind me, we're at the shop. We have come to TLG Auto in North Hollywood, California. My friend Marco is an air-cooled specialist, and he's actually taken the engine apart, and he told me to come up and take a look at what we have found. So, let's look at my engine. 40 years, air-cooled business. All the good stuff around here. All right, you invited me up here to show me what is wrong with my engine, Marco.
All right, so
here's my engine, or what's left of it.
So this is the short block, case crank and rods.
First off, when I brought it in, the smoke, that was really, it was smoking.
Yeah. So basically, you brought it to me for oil consumption and smoke out the tailpipe.
Yeah.
Right. So typically, a 911 motor, air cooled, uses a quart every 1,000 to 1,500 miles. I think you were up to like 200 miles a quart.
No, I was at 500,
okay.
But before I sent it out, like, it was at 1,000 a quart. Like, I did 1,000, I burned a quart, and BBI, when they did what they did, the modifications, they put new plugs in, and the old plugs didn't have any oil or nothing was weird.
Right,
okay.
Right.
So I brought it to you, we pulled the plug out, and it was oily.
Yeah, it was wet, yeah. real bad. And then, so we put a new one in just to kind of get you down the road and until we could find the time to take it apart. And in pulling the motor back apart, pulled the plugs out, and it was oily again.
Okay.
So the motor had basically had it, but the bottom end of the motor...
Had it is a very harsh term.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The bottom end of a 3.2 Carrera motor is pretty much a tractor motor. They're overbuilt. They last forever. They're really wonderful. Yours has, what, 98,000 miles on it?
94.
94,000 miles on it. I would say that it's probably good until 150 before you would even have to start thinking about it. Okay. The SCs and the Carreras are very like that. Yeah. So here you have your short block, case crank and rods with the heads, with the head studs sticking out of the case, right? And the chains hanging out of the case.
Okay.
It's dry. The case half is dry. You see there's no oil leaking.
So it's not, it's two halves sandwiched together, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So point out where we're looking for dryness.
Well, so you're going to want to look where the cases bolt together and are sealed with a sealant, and so it's dry. You see a little like dust and dirt that is collected because the motor creates a mist of oil like in its just existence, and it picks up a little dirt here and there. But generally speaking, this is bone dry.
And
okay.
Dry is good.
Dry is exceptional. It's what you want. So even on the bottom, because this is the top of the motor, so you're going to want to roll it over and look at the bottom. The oil that you see here is from me disassembling it. Generally speaking, this motor was bone dry. There's no signs of it leaking, except for right there on my floor, because it's apart. Yeah. So all of this oil that you see is from me doing this, rolling it over and turning it. But before we started, it was as dry on the bottom as it is on the top. So that's good.
Trying to not get that splatter on my shoes.
Yeah, I know. Those are some fresh kicks.
I know. My New Balances are fire, son. Superman.
All right. So when you take a motor apart and you get it to this point, you kind of want to see, you want to look around here also for the number 8 main bearing. Typically, you get leaks right in this area here. That is a pressure area. There's an oil gallery hole there, and the main bearing, the number 8 nose bearing, has an O-ring. Mm-hmm. And you know, if the case is warped or beat on just from age and time and whatever, you get mist and oil coming out of there. In this case, it's bone dry. So it says one more time, don't take this apart.
Okay.
So then the next thing you do is you check to see how well the crank turns in the case that's clamped together and torqued to spec, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, it's beautiful.
That's good?
This is as good. This is what you want.
Okay,
when you
good.
put a fresh motor together, they should be this good.
Good.
Okay. So here
What I'm doing now is counting dollars I don't have to spend.
That's exactly right. You don't have to take the motor apart any further because I would consider the bottom end of this motor ready to go.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing a top end rebuild, basically.
Okay.
All right.
And
So
this is not what was done at BBI. BBI did basically a service,
an outside shit.
an outside.
Yeah, they took care of all the vacuum leaks and external oil leaks, beautification project, because your fan was beat to hell, and they got you a new fan housing, and they made a really bitchin' color fan for the Cassis fan.
Yeah.
So like they did all the outside stuff, but the motor between when it was there to when you received it back and started using it again, either a valve guide seal went bad, the valves themselves were worn to a point where they started to show their age.
Keen beat the shit out of it.
I didn't say anything. This is not. I don't know why it started to do what it did, but what I can tell you is that the rings. You were getting some blow by from the rings, and you were getting some oil into the combustion chamber down the valve.
Okay, so let's look at the heads.
Okay, so your cylinder heads are over here. I want to say that this is 4, 5, 6.
So 4 and 5 look not so bad, right?
So this is how it would be
Where
on
do
the
we
motor.
start?
Well, this would be number 4, 5, and 6, right?
Okay.
So number 6 was your oiliest one, remember? Okay, so you're going to look in here. They're all going to have a certain amount of carbon buildup just from the nature of the motor. Running, it consumes oil, it's going to build carbon. In the number 6 hole, you can see the comparison here. There's a uniform layer of carbon, right?
Yeah.
And here you see the carbon is not uniform. In fact, it's starting to wash because the fresh oil is washing the carbon right off the cylinder.
Like, literally, the word wash is a literal word.
Yes, it is. You can see.
Washing it off.
You can see here. So you get, you
And I
know.
also see these valves are much darker than these. Right?
Yeah, well,
You
that's
didn't clean those.
No, I haven't cleaned
right?
anything.
Okay, yeah.
But that's another thing. You see the carbon buildup on the tip of the valve, but you also see that you're getting some washing of the combustion chamber.
Okay.
Now that's a function of fresh oil getting in there, as well as the rings, letting everything come in from the bottom too. So you've got, basically you've just got too much liquid.
Yeah. Okay, how's the other side?
The other side is actually not bad either, but number 2 had started to go away. So here you have 1, 2, and 3, and you can see number 2 starting to show the same sort of thing. However, this spark plug came out clean.
Oh.
So
it's like not quite.
it hadn't started getting to the point where you were going to, basically number 2 was going to be like number 6. It was going to start coating the plug.
Yeah.
So
Which means even smokier.
Correct. Yeah, and even more consumption. So your timing on the top end rebuild is perfect.
Okay.
It's as bad as you want it to get before you fix it.
Because they were like, you could keep driving it for a while and it would smoke.
Yep, you could.
Would anything horrible have happened?
Eat your catalytic converter.
Okay. Yeah. Also, look,
the tree huggers would be
I like sports cars, but listen, it's real embarrassing to drive a smoky car around Los Angeles.
The smoking tire, for sure.
Especially if it's like a pretty car, that otherwise good, and it's just like.
Look, so that's the problem, right? Like we all love the environment, but at the same time, we also love sports cars, and it's sort of never the twain shall meet.
Well, this car runs properly, it's reasonably clean.
Exactly, they clean the air. Actually, yeah. So
do we look at the pistons?
Well, yeah, I'll show you the pistons here in a second.
Wait, and also, do you have a set of fresh heads?
Yes, I have another motor that I'm doing where the heads are very similar to this. They're not 3.2, that's 3 liter, but you'll see what a good, clean, fresh cylinder head should look like. But first, let's look at the pistons.
Okay.
So come over here to the dirty spot. Ignore the scrapings here. I just did that so I could number the pistons.
Oh, okay.
That way they stay where they belong.
Yeah.
You number the pistons and the cylinders so they stay together. I haven't.
Does that have a number on it?
No. I struck it.
Oh.
I struck it.
Because this piston go back in the car with a strike in it like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not going to.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's not going to affect anything.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a thing.
So in order to be able to get a good strike and to see it, I just scraped them a little bit. I haven't washed them properly yet, so you can still see the carbon buildup, which is good because you can see the difference. This was number 2, right? So here's number 1, or excuse me, here's number 5. This is number 5, and you can see again that uniform layer of carbon all the way around, right? And cylinder number 2, you can see where I scuffed it, but you can also see where it started to wash right there, that really clean area. And then you look at number 6 as well.
So 6 is the bad one.
6 was the one that was coating the plug. Hang on a sec.
Yeah.
See how clean that is? I haven't cleaned this yet. I rinsed the oil off of it, but I haven't cleaned it. I haven't measured it or cleaned it yet. So that's the next step. The next step with the pistons and cylinders is going to be to clean them thoroughly, remove the rings, and you basically measure everything to see if it's still within spec.
Okay.
And if it's within spec, if within factory spec, then you run them again. Re-ring them and run them again.
So pistons, possibly reusable.
Correct.
Rings and valves, not reusable?
Those are trash.
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting a ring and valve job, basically.
Okay.
So it's new rings, new valves, new guides. I am going to put new springs and retainers in it because we're going to be doing some cam work to it. I want to make sure that you have a good valve train.
We're going to do a 964 cam?
That's correct. Something to that effect. Maybe a little modified 964 grind.
And everything here on the stand, good to be reused?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take this apart and clean it a little bit. Take this seal off and clean this seal, or replace this gasket rather. Clean this cover. I put a new O-ring in your thermostat. Going to replace the rear main seal. But generally speaking, what you see is what you get. You're not going to get much more done to this. I'm really happy with how this came out. So.
Okay. Show me a set of clean heads to compare to our dirty heads.
All right.
Dirty heads. And while he's getting those, check this out. We got a nice little race car. Pretty cool G-body racer, looking good. And then, Marco, can I show this red car? Or is it a secret?
No, you can show the red car.
Beautiful little 73, Marco?
73 Bahia Red E-Targa.
Very shiny.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
shiny.
car. 100% original paint.
And it's got a sweet little motor going in it. 2.9 liter.
2.9. Yeah.
All right. Got a clean head, buddy?
Got a clean head.
All right, let's see what we got here.
So generally speaking, this is what your heads are going to look like when they're done.
Yeah, that's clean.
So that you got
it over here.
Yeah, all right. Here. So you can get a little comparison going.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, what we're going to do is
But wait, if all of mine looked like this, would that be okay? And we would keep going?
What do you mean?
Like, this one's not fucked, right?
No. If it doesn't look like this, it don't go back in the car.
Well, I'm not saying you put it back in the car now that it's out, but like, this one is functioning properly, right?
I mean, it appears to, it appears to be.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't. I mean, everything's done in sets.
But it needs to look like this.
Yeah. So when we do the heads, basically you fly cut the head so that you have an even.
What does fly cut mean? Sorry, I'm stupid.
Put it on a lathe or a mill, and you mill it flat.
Oh, okay.
You got to fly cut the surface so you get a good seal on everything. Yeah. Right. You put new guides, new valve guides, and new valves. And I'm going to be putting new springs and retainers. So you'll get a set of Osco springs.
Those are good?
Those are great.
Okay.
They're racing springs.
Oh,
I love them. They are the best,
okay,
in my opinion.
Okay.
And Osco titanium retainers.
Okay.
Because they are durable, lightweight, and stone reliable.
Great.
And then we just set the spring heights to factory spec for the cams we're using, or not necessarily factory spec, but just spec for the cams.
Spec.
Correct. And when it goes back together, it'll just be a clean, functional assembly.
All right. What's the damage?
I don't know yet. I haven't done the numbers. I haven't worked it out. But I mean, I want to say.
Not cheap.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you want me to just give you a shot from the hip?
Yeah. Take a guess. 18
to 20.
Woo! Woo!
But that's what takes to do it right. But again,
it costs to be the boss.
Once it's done for
another 100K, right?
I would say. Well, you're good until the bottom end needs to be done in 60,000 miles.
All right, which for me is lifetime.
Well, that's the point, right?
I'm not going to put 60,000 miles in this car.
No.
It's not. Okay, so consumer advice, Marco, for other people who are not looking to buy a Porsche, turn into a safari car, and then 600 miles later end up with their engine on a stand and a $18,000 bill.
what does someone want to look at before they buy to potentially avoid finding themselves in this position?
Well,
Or is this just inevitable?
everyone's going to end up here at some point. Some people end up here quicker than others. Some people end up here with an over rev or a missed shift or something like that. Nothing is forever. But if you're searching for a car, you want to obviously pull the plugs, do a compression and leak down check, and you want to see if there are records for oil consumption. Records for catalytic converters, records for head studs, things like that, like serious motor work. This motor, it would have kept going. I mean, I think it would have kept running just as fine as it was running. It just would have been smokier and smokier and smokier.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny because aside from the smoke, it made strong power. It sounded right. It didn't misfire. It didn't act up. It really was just the smoke.
Porsches are good motors, man. They're really good cars.
Well, and with that, I leave you and my motor with Marco, and I'm going to go on vacation, and he's going to have a couple of weeks to do this, and hopefully sometime in January we'll be back in the car, and we'll be hitting the trails with a fresh top-end rebuild.
Yeah, should be good.
Marco Gerace, TLG Auto. Armando over there doing the actual work as my camera goes out of focus. And my car sleeping in a corner for the next 4 to 5 weeks. So that's life.
Yeah.
Pay the cost to be the boss.
It's going to be great when it's done.
TLG_auto on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
We fade out on the logo. Fade it out, buddy. Whoa, 40 years. Air cooled.